Talks about life, Scene Canyon, take 2.
So speaking of Hard Sun, that's the first feature-length film you directed, which you also helped to write and produce with your business partner, James.
Yeah. I actually wrote the story with J. Michael, and then I wrote the script.
So just what was the process of getting that made, going between trying to get like a full budget to we're just going to do this?
Yeah. After we did Esteban, I was heavily involved in like the digital space, and I was doing panels and stuff like that. I worked for a couple festivals, and then I developed a show called First Edition with this guy Sam Weller, and that was kind of like the next step. So Esteban, we only shot 3 episodes. We spent like $10,000. We had no budget. Like it was a good learning experience. That's where I learned to direct. I hired a bunch of film students and then just kind of watched what they did, and that was my film school. But First Edition was a series, but that was kind of, I feel like, my first feature to some degree, because we shot it straight through. So we shot ultimately 2 seasons over 19 days straight through. So we did that, and then, you know, in the directing world, there's kind of a belief or an understanding of, you know, once you do a feature, it's kind of like
You're in
a different world. That's like the pro. Not to say that people who are doing, you know, digital series and stuff aren't, but there's just a different view, I guess, of features. And so I knew that I wanted to make that transition. And James Thomas and I had worked on a couple things. I had produced a couple things for him, and he had produced a couple things for me, and gaffed as well and stuff. And so in 2011, we went out to Sushi, and, you know, he knew that I wanted to direct features, and I knew he wanted to direct features. And so that meeting was kind of like, hey, why don't we get together and, you know, shoot 2 features? And so that was kind of the genesis of what became Two Guys in a Film and what became Hard Sun and Run Like Hell. We went off, this was like December 17th, and we were like, okay, well, James has this idea for a script. I have this idea for a script called Hard Sun that J. Michael and I came up with like 10 years before. So we went away for, you know, 10 days and wrote the scripts, and then came back together and started doing notes and stuff, and that kind of began our development process. And by the beginning of January, we were out in Salton Sea and Joshua Tree, location scouting, and then casting and all of that.
Yeah. Now you have your next project that you're developing, Venus.
Yeah, so we have basically, so Run Like Hell and Hard Sun are out. They're distributed. In the process, we started a distribution company as well. We're getting ready to release a film called Big Bad Bugs. That'll be like our first acquisition deal, a film that we didn't work on, but that we'll be distributing. And then James and I have a bunch of, like, probably 8 projects or so in various phases of development. Then on top of that, I just started my own production company, Not a King Productions, and then I started another production company called Baby Moo Cow Productions with Elizabeth Cron, and so that is what Venus is under. That'll be our first movie together, and it's like a sci-fi coming of age alien abduction movie with like underlying LGBT themes in it. So it's gonna be exciting. It's kind of like Invasion of the Body Snatchers meets, I don't know, Monsters or something.
Yeah. So as a director, like with actors, you have like these different methods, you have different approaches to acting, and if done correctly, it's like you can't see what school they went to on screen. It's like acting is acting. It's good or not. With directing, there aren't like different schools of thought with directing. It's like everybody has their own signature style, and everybody is responsible for creating their own signature style. So how did you develop your own style as a director?
I think as a director, there's, you have the visual style, and then you have the storytelling style. I mean, it's all storytelling, but so with the visual style, it's a couple things. It's, your DP has a huge amount of input into that. That's why, some directors work with the same DP, and then some, hire different DP based on different films. Because I've found that each project, has its own, soul or whatever. It's got its own thing. So one movie may look one way, but another script may call it look, different. So that's where it would start for me, is kind of looking at a script and deciding mentally what feel I get from it, and then finding a DP to match that. With Hard Sun, the DP was Stephen Snavely, who I'd worked with on some other stuff. We shot that film on the Canon DSLRs, and so I knew Stephen had a lot of background in that, and I knew everything that he shot was very beautiful, and Hard Sun was a very like artsy indie kind of thing, so I knew that was gonna play well together. On top of that, it also depends on kind of where I am personally in the time of the film. For Hard Sun, it was very much the music I was listening to and the films that I was watching. Like, apparently I was on a Jennifer Lawrence kick, because like Winter's Bone and the first Hunger Games were things that I drew a lot from stylistically. That handheld, shaky cam and intimate, and like, shots where long, kind of handheld shots and things like that. And then the music was very, kind of like southern deserty, Mumford and Sons kind of. We had Milk Carton Kids on the soundtrack and stuff like that. So that's the visual style. And then as far as the storytelling style, the more I do it, the more I'm learning to kind of just back off and let people do their jobs. Because the original things that I directed, like Esteban and stuff, I was very trying to control every single aspect of it. And what I learned was that when you do that, a project is only good as your ceiling, because it's all, you're doing everything basically. You're calling all the shots. The more you involve other people and kind of let them run with the ball, then all of a sudden everybody's elevating it, and a project can go much beyond your capacity. And I think that's what Hard Sun was. Lots of times the actors would ask me a question, well, what do you think, their background is, or something like that, and I'd be like, I don't know. Like, that's your job, I got all these other things that I'm worrying about. Like, you just have this one job. And it wasn't like being a dick or anything, but it was like they have much more. They can just focus their energy on that. I could give them an answer, but I'm much more interested in hearing what they have to say. Like, I won't nowadays when we first up on a scene. Used to, I'd be like, okay, we come in and you stand here, and then you do this, and you come over here and you say this line. Now it's we'll go on set, and I'll be like, let's just see what you guys come up with, and then I may tweak it. Hey, instead of going over here, why don't you try this? Or I love when you did this. Now, we'll play over this, and you say this, and then it becomes very much more collaborative and organic.
Yeah.